Good morning to everyone. On behalf of our team, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Professor Annalie Hilongos and the esteemed faculty members of the National Service Training Program for giving us this opportunity to conduct the Digitalino online. Your support for our initiative, is really important to us. And we are excited for our NSTP students for second semester 2024 to 2025 to join us in this advocacy. But before we begin, I kindly ask our students, everyone, to please scan this QR code here for to complete our pre-test. So this will help us to better understand your current knowledge and, of course, later on to tailor our topics and discussions to be more engaging and relevant to our audience. And your participation is greatly appreciated. It will ensure that we can provide the best learning experience possible for other future endeavors of this Digitalino program. And thank you for your cooperation. So do kindly scan this QR code and answer our pre-test. Okay, so to start with, please allow me to share our screen. So Digitalino has been a program supported by the Google.org, Central Philippine University, ASEAN Foundation, in partnership with Central Philippine University, the Iloilo City Public Library, the Philippine Librarians Association in Western Visayas, Limitless Lab, and Break the Fake Movement. I was trained under the Limitless Lab as one of the 70 master trainers in the Philippines, with only 3 of us coming from Western Visayas. The very first Digitalino program that we had conducted was with the Youth Council or Assembly of Igbaras, Iloilo. So this was in 2022. Later, I'm going to give you a picture of how far we had been in implementing this hashtag Digitalino program. We also had our Digitalino program in Mater Days College in Silay through online. This was conducted for the seminarians or seminary students for this college. And two high schools in the province of Antique also underwent the Digitalino program. This one is in Dao Catholic High School and St. Therese High School in Casay Aninii, Antique. And another one here in Iloilo City, the Angelicum High School. This was a hybrid setup. There were participants on site and online. And of course, we also had online session with the University of John B. Lacson Foundation Maritime University for their faculty and staff, for the LIS students of Bulacan State University, the Aklan Youth Council in the province of Aklan, and of course, during the pre-congress of the Philippine Librarians Association here in Iloilo, when we hosted the National Congress for Librarians in 2022. We also conducted to the senior high school students of CPU in 2022 and on-site for the Iloilo Doctors College students during the LIS month. And also conducted online for the faculty and students of Central Philippine State University in Negros. And the last but not the least, in 2022, was with the persons deprived of liberty, together with the jail officers towards the end of 2022. So you see the participants, the audience, were varied, coming from students, faculty, even persons deprived of liberty were included in our audience or those who had joined us in this advocacy. So to give you a picture of the timeline of how we conducted the ADLP or the ASEAN Digital Literacy Program, we started in March to April 2022 for the call for master trainers. There are 100 of those who had participated and submitted, but there are only few of us who were chosen to conduct this Digitalino program. And towards the end of December of 2022, the target of 10,000 Filipinos to be trained, was reached by the Limitless Lab. So we reached 11,805 Filipinos, and 1,900 of these, were coming from our team, coming from Western Visayas. And we are proud to say that we placed second. So I was awarded as top 2 master trainer in the whole Philippines for conducting this Digitalino program. But we didn't stop there. And, as a first-time voter for 2022 election, I was really caught off guard of what happened in the country. The Philippines recorded as having the slowest internet connection turned over the fastest election result online. So it really perked my sentiment, my passion, at the same time questions a lot of things, what is happening around us, even through the use of social media as a platform in or during the election period. So we continue with this advocacy. In 2023, we started to strengthen our collaboration with the Philippine Librarians Association, Central Philippine University, and of course, the Iloilo City Public Library. So we continue our implementation of the Digitalino program with the students of University of San Agustin, and we partnered with Fly Western Visayas to conduct this in the province of Aklan through the local government unit of Tangalan. And of course, through the Iraynon Bukidnon, this is the indigenous community in the province of Antique. You know, the thrust of Digitalino is as long as the community, the persons or the people in the community has the access to social media accounts. May internet sila, may connection sila, and they can access their social media accounts. They can really be a part of the Digitalino movement or advocacy for the Digitalino program. And the last one we conducted was with the PRC during the anniversary of PRC at Barangay Santo Tomas, Barotac Viejo, here in Iloilo province. So with this, we had incorporated some of the programs with our LIS organization or LISO here in the university, our students coming from the LIS program. So how do we know that our program had impacted those universities and colleges that we conducted the Digitalino program? So some of them had replicated our training. So for example, the Central Philippine State University faculty also conducted a training to other audience or separate audiences in the university. And of course, we challenged the students who had joined during the conduct of our Digitalino to change their badges, di ba? May sila na specific, profile picture badge to make known or to perk up those who wanted to know more about the Digitalino project. And there are some reflections forwarded to us by faculty members who had allowed their students to share their insights of what they had learned or experienced during the Digitalino session. And of course, we were featured in the ASEAN Digital Literacy Program page or website for the whole ADLP implementation because we had conducted two varied type of audiences. Okay, and of course, some of the feedbacks given to us by those who had attended the Digitalino session from the senior high school department and from other universities and colleges had really warmed our heart. And we know that we are giving, an additional insights, or it might be an eye-opener for those who had attended our training session. So in general, or in total, as of the end of 2024, we had trained more than 2,000 Filipinos. And you will be one, or you will be included among this roster of Filipinos who will be trained under the hashtag Digitalino. And of course, we are proud to say that the recent milestone of the program, we received the Merit Award during the forum, the e-learning forum for Asia at the Hong Kong Baptist University, where we were recognized for this initiative. And we placed second during the recognition of the CPU Kapitbayan Awards of the university for an outstanding commitment to celebrate the community engagement in the university. So we were awarded second place. And with that, we would like to thank our university for supporting and giving recognition towards this program. Okay, so again, I'm Anna May Cantel. I have not introduced myself yet. Yeah, I'm Anna May Cantel. I'm the program coordinator of the Library Information Science program under the College of Computer Studies. But currently, I am on study leave. I'm a full-time faculty under the College of Computer Studies. So I'm one of the team leader I'm one of the convener and the team leader of this hashtag Digitalino program under the College of Computer Studies. So I think I made this earlier. I introduced this earlier about the program partners that we have. And Central Philippine University has been so supportive in all the endeavors of this program, the hashtag Digitalino. So why we are here? ADLP, as known internationally, just to make it clear, it's not only here in the Philippines that ADLP, or the ASEAN Digital Literacy Program, had been conducted. So na-conduct man siya in other countries in the ASEAN region like Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand. So all these countries had also replicated this program. Here in the Philippines, we just named it as hashtag Digitalino. Digitalino means Digi for digital, and Talino is, of course, intellectual, so intelligent. So we are digitally intelligent. Filipinos supposedly should be digitally intelligent. That's the reason why we had come up with this program, the hashtag Digitalino. So this is a regional program. We call about regional program. Again, this is not only in the Philippines, but in some other ASEAN countries as well. So we wanted to reach as many Filipinos as possible. So may it be youth, students, teachers, community leaders, government officials, and so on and so forth. So before I proceed further, when I was on winter break, I had conducted 3 more Digitalino sessions here in Iloilo. One is with the provincial librarians under the Iloilo Provincial Library. The same time with the Alternative Learning System, or ALS, students of the Ramon Avancenia National High School in Villa or in Arevalo. And another one, the latest one, was with the Tigbawan LGU, with the barangay secretaries of the local government unit of Tigbawan. So it was really a meaningful break time for us to conduct this. So before going to start, just give you a short background why we are here. So why do we need to conduct hashtag Digitalino? So just to give you infographics of the importance of this program. So as of January 2024, there was a recorded 86 million internet users in the Philippines, and 92 of us are active social media users. So in your pre-test, you will be asked, what are the social media platforms that you are using? So that speaks of the 92 million number of users for active social media users. And the average Filipino spend 10 hours, almost 11 hours online every day. If I'm conducting this online, or on site rather, I really wish to know how many hours you're spending looking at your social media accounts. And I really wanted to know, your responses and your behavior online. So please do answer our pre-test, because this will answer our questions for how many hours are you spending through your browsing your social media accounts. Filipinos spend almost half a year, can you imagine, online? So kumbaga babad na babad kita with whatever social media accounts we are using. The sad reality is that slightly more than half of Filipinos find it difficult to spot fake news. And we are part of this. It's a very alarming rate. It's a very alarming number to know that the 92 million who are using or active users of social media account has this difficulty of spotting fake news. Okay, and 70% of us believe that this is a serious problem. Okay, this is somewhat a good, number to indicate that really Filipinos believe that this is something that we should work, to eradicate. This is a movement that we really need to work on. And with that, we're going to learn here with all these demographics that I had presented to you. I do hope this will give us an insight. This will give us a background why we need to learn the power of digital information, why we need to know the differences between misinformation and disinformation, how our biases affect the way we consume information online, and we will not, leave you without the proper equipping you. So we're going to give you some insights how to be a responsible digital citizen. So I do hope we can finish this on time, but since I'm recording this presentation, I do hope I can finish this before your session ends. So we're going to move on to our lesson number 1, the power of information. So what is information to all of us? As a librarian, I had been using this term or word information several times. So information usually should should be supported by facts, by figures. Information should always be used to help us decide something with the aid of facts and figures that we had seen or we had consumed, and it should provide us with knowledge. The reason why you are studying here at CPU because you wanted to have this information, valuable, factual, and reliable information. So there are a lot of roles information play in our lives, diba? So kadamo na siya. It gives us idea, it gives us, knowledge, it equips us to make decisions in life. But we know that there are several sources of information. Before, sources of information may be coming from, non-digital format. So word of mouth. Filipinos love, information coming from words of mouth. So, di ba, mahilig kita sa referral system. We don't read, we don't sometimes look for information online, but we ask people around us, oy, diin ka nagpa-check up, oy, diin ka nagpa-rebond, because we wanted, word of mouth as a source of information. But recently, there are a lot of changes, especially in the onset of social media. Information are now much more generated, consulted, or we try to elicit information coming from social media accounts. So before the popular internet, these are well-known sources of information. Of course, the libraries, right? Whether it's a public library or it's an academic library or wherever libraries you try to visit. And television, we do love to watch television, news, we listen to radios, and we read newspapers, right? But of course, we also get information coming from our family members, community, leaders, friends. But now, in the onset of internet, the popular internet, and even the social media platforms, this has been a source of mostly of information for all of us. And of course, social media has become our favorite source, diba? So when talk about favorite, all of the time, when we need something or when we need to try to look into or try to find something, we consult our social media accounts rather than the previous sources of information. So with that, we try to reflect how many hours do you spend on in your social media. So you might be thinking, this is for informational use, so I might be spending 10 hours. No problem with that, as long as you know how to differentiate misinformation from disinformation. Now, there are two sides of social media. So there are positive and negative sides of social media. Positively, social media has a lot of information. So all newspapers, televisions, and those who are known to be a primary source of information now can also be seen in social media accounts. May mga social media account man sila. So valid ang aton nga paglantaw man sa social media accounts nila. But the negative side is most of the time social media accounts are unfiltered or information coming from social media. It's really difficult for us to determine the quality, whether it's, the quality can be trusted. Can it really be reliable? Is it accurate, right? I don't know if you watch the movie The Litter. This is a movie, featuring Nadine Illustre, where Facebook really had to hire somebody to delete some of these obscene videos or content for Facebook. But now we should be alarmed because Facebook, now called Meta, had already waived the fact-checking activities or the fact-checking aspects of their social media account, the Meta, the Facebook. Okay, so this will really make us as parents, this really make me feel alarmed. Yang bata ko galantaw sa social media account, now unfiltered, now not fact-checked by Meta itself, the creator of Facebook. So we should all be vigilant to what social media pages they are opening and browsing right now. And of course, social media can easily spread hate speech or sometimes manipulate us in our belief, manipulate us emotionally, manipulate us, in some other terms, or even financially, because sometimes there are a lot of things that can lure us to look into or to see in our social media accounts. Now, should we believe everything we see in social media? So I really wanted to hear your responses on this. But, there are a lot of things that we could hear, we could see, we could read in our social media accounts. There are two groups of people that we can or we usually encounter information. These are coming from journalists and influencers. Okay, so when we talk about journalists or influencers, I know you know a lot of journalists, in the Philippines or even abroad, right? In the Philippines, we have Jessica Soho, Atom Araulio, and so on and so forth. not naming the stations that they are connected with, but in journalists, these are people who are known as trained professionals. We talk about trained, just like you, they studied to become journalists. They studied to report, to know how to identify, how to call out, how to really present valuable facts and figures or information that they need to report, that they need to present among the audiences that are watching, listening, reading the content. And they have this code of ethics that they need to follow. Thus, they have to present reliable, factual information. You might be thinking, ma'am, may bias man kung kisa mga journalists. Yes, they can or they may be, but take note, knowing that they had this oath of ethics or code of ethics that they need to follow, this will somewhat give them an alignment of their values and trust for producing information. Influencers, on the other hand, I know you know a lot of influencers with you. I will not name one, but I know damo gid no, right? And different influencers in the field of fashion, food, ano pa, travel. So kadamo sa influencers that we know. And there are a lot of influencers that we know are paid by brands or companies just to make sure that there will be somebody or a large number of audience or reach for their product. So kumbaga, ang influencers, they were using their reach, their number of followers. So the product itself can be marketed, and thus the owner of products or owner of services can pay these influencers to market their their services, to market their products, to market what they can offer in the community or for the public to use or to consume. On the other hand, journalists, going back to them, journalists are usually the one in front lines. So, diba, it's crucial for us to recall, have you seen an influencer nga ara dito during the calamities, diba? Nga ara dito on the ground during the breakout of war, during the flooding, the typhoon, earthquake areas. So usually we could see journalists, visiting this area, these places, these devastated places, because they need to report factual information. They cannot just assume information. Di sila pwede kambal nga daw malala gid ang epekto sang bagyo didto. So they really have to be underground to make sure that they are delivering factual information. On the other hand, influencers, they have this impact, they have this reach, they have this power to to allure us, to give us a decision. And most of the time, their content are based on their own personal interest. Yes, food may be so delicious for them because they were paid, and their food that nga ginakaon nila libre lang na siya. So don't agree with a lot of food vloggers telling us that this restaurant have can serve a lot of delicious foods. And I know you know that there are a lot of things that influencers do around us that I know you are all aware of. That's why I'm just here to remind you of differentiating the way we listen to these information providers online. So most of the time, journalists provide us with factual information, diba? So all, if not, circumstances has to be true, because they were bound by the code of ethics to provide factual information. And of course, they should be supported by facts, figures, and evidences. Meanwhile, influencers are just sharing their opinion, their belief, their judgment, diba? And most of the time, opinions are debatable. So this will somehow be a point of disagreement among those who are consuming what these influencers were posting online. In the Philippines, this is a sad scenario because as of 2022, there is decrease in our trust for journalists. Rather than trusting them to provide us information, most of us would rely on information coming from influencers. And of course, we had seen how our journalists had been attacked here in the Philippines. We are so unfortunate that most of the time, those who can deliver us with the rightful amount of information and factual information were questioned of how valuable are they in our society. So so can we differentiate the content of information or information coming from journalists or influencers? Of course, most of the time, journalists will have to be there where the actual things are happening, where the actual problems are ongoing, right? Because they have to deliver factual information to a large number of audiences. Okay, so with that, we will move on with lesson 2. This is a differentiation of disinformation and misinformation. Now, I would like to hear if you have been a victim of fake news. And what does the term fake news mean to you? But since we are recorded, please do answer again in our pre-test so we will know how had been this issue of fake news had influenced your life so far. Okay. Now, the problem with the term fake news, it became a global silencer because all of us have been using this in a very casual way, 'di ba? So kung mga ka nga, uy, inang wala ka kuno kapasar ito sa chemo, fake news lang na, 'di ba? O may exam ta kuno karon, fake news lang na. So it became just a natural word to all of us. So therefore, it has no deliberate impact. Kumbaga, do wala na siya bugat among us Filipinos. Now, the term fake news should not be used for us. So instead, we should try to determine whether the information can be categorized as a misinformation or disinformation. So let me just help you to differentiate. Misinformation means you are spreading by mistake. So it was not deliberately done. Nagsala ka lang, gin-share mo man, but it was not meant to be shared, right? So disinformation, on the other hand, was deliberately done on purpose. So you deliberately created an information that you wanted to harm or you wanted to create a chaos and you wanted to spread that out. So that is disinformation. Now, the difference between these two is the intent to harm. Disinformation really wanted, or the intention is to really harm a group, a person, an organization, or even, a certain individual. So disinformation really has this stigma na ma-change gid ang tao or ang organization that will be a victim of this disinformation online. So who do you think are the people behind this information? So in the Philippines, we call them as trolls, right? Trolls are paid group of people to deliberately create and distribute this information online. And you know this. I know the freshman students of CPU are very intelligent and they can, critically analyze the content online. So there are many reasons why people create this information online. Of course, number one, to earn profit. Amo ginaya, trolls are paid. So when they share information, when they try to rebut, or they try to send out wrong accusations or wrong information online, they are being paid. So hindi na kita magbais sa ila because wala tayo ginabayda ni Facebook. They were there to destroy a person and they are used to create chaos and confusion online. It has been so powerful. In fact, in the Philippines, we are a breeding ground of disinformation for hire services, and it's expanding nationwide. And we should be alarmed, di ba? So kadamo, so wala ubra, but they are just sitting down there, spreading disinformation and receiving amount of money coming from a group or coming from a certain individuals. So therefore, we should not just be alarmed with the environmental pollution because disinformation pollution in the Philippines is so rampant. And as a faculty, as a librarian, as a mother, I could say that this is really an alarming issue in our country, knowing that we don't even have this filtering, system to the social media accounts that our children or our students are using online. So how can this information influence us? It could be on political activities during the election period, during violent extremism, right? So, there are a lot of disinformation that will allure us to really believe that the certain group is really, violent, or they really had to use guns and everything. And of course, to create public crisis, right? Disinformation can influence public crisis, health crisis, because they can influence to spread, di ba? To believe that something is really happening in our country or in the world, di ba? So recently, we were alarmed nga may ara na naman kuno nga virus nga nag-spread sa China, which really endangered us. And of course, face shield naman ni bala, mamabakal naman bala kita face shield, di ba? Now, the negative impact of this information is that, and misinformation is that sometimes we take it for granted ng iya impact, but it's really something that we should be afraid of. In fact, in Europe, there are a lot who died during COVID because ginapat, wala na, conspiracy theory lang na siya, hindi na tuod. So mga nag-party-party ito sa Paris, they went home on, the outskirt towns of Europe nga kalabanan sa mga tao or elders, di ba, mga elders dito, they were not vaccinated and eventually they died. So there was really a mass death of coronavirus in Europe. So this really alarmed, the population there because of that disinformation. Na nagpatigid sila yang it was just a conspiracy theory and it's not true. Now, think of instances that you were a victim, of misinformation or disinformation. How did you feel, diba? So, during the conduct of this training on site or online in synchronous manner, I could hear, responses like, you're frustrated, na dismaya ka, you're ashamed. Sometimes you really wanted to retaliate, but you don't know how, right? So being a victim is really something that will somewhat affect us, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, or even, spiritually. So there are a lot of issues that will that can attack us when we became a victim of misinformation or disinformation. So with that, we're going to know what are the different types of misinformation and disinformation. This is very important because we need to understand what we could see online and how we categorize them, because we need to be vigilant on information that we can find when we are browsing our social media accounts. The first type is false connection. So, any mga false connection, mga naminami ni ila headlines. When you read the headline, you will be caught mo attention nga dumapati kagid dayon, and you will continue to read the content. And in fact, you may click the link of that content because the headline is really, of value to you. So, ina sila usually call that as clickbaits. The headline has nothing to do with the content. So, it's a false connection. The headline is somewhat calling your attention, but actually the content is appealing, diba? So yung mga amo na siya. So it's a false connection. So this is an example of false connection. Another type of disinformation is satire or parody. And I think we are all, guilty of this. We love to share funny information. We love to share exaggerated content, or, there's a real life situation, but exaggerated ang iyang captions or content. But this is something that we should be watchful for. Satire and parody are a way of promoting disinformation pollution. So the more that you share this kaladlawan na content, the more that people are reading the content. So it might also be, it can trigger that this certain group will believe this satire or parody content. So satire and parody is something that we should be watchful for. So, di ba, masikat man for entertainment purposes man lang na siya, but without twitching the content, without trying to, change the gist of the information, then you are not spreading this information. But if the content is really not true and you deliberately share that, that is part of disinformation pollution. Okay, next is we have the imposter content. So I don't know if you have been a victim of this, mga famous, no, di ba? So most of the time, somebody use their image as a person or organization and share false information. Most of the time, this is to elicit monetary, to elicit crowdsourcing, di ba? Imposter content is something that will use real life, real pictures, real logos, real names. So to know, we're going to know later how to identify the imposter content. And another type of disinformation is manipulated content. So here, I'm going to ask you, Dani, what is being manipulated here, di ba? Manipulated content is a real life situation, natabo gid man siya, but there is a certain part of the video or the picture that was manipulated. So here, the picture, the manipulated content is the flag of the Philippines. Wala pa ta kalabuot sa moon. Okay, so yeah, it supposedly should be the American flag or the USA flag that should be placed there, not the Philippine flag. So we should always be vigilant of this manipulated content. Another one is false content. Iniya medyo kaladukan ni. False content, these are real information that is presented out of context. Pictures, words, videos were included there really happened, but in the other context. So it's true that there are really a lot of victims who died during the typhoon. But this picture represents the Typhoon Sendong and not Typhoon Odette. So can you imagine, wala naman na pangayo, no? Pero kung naglinog, abidi sa Iloilo of intensity 3, so or 2. So medyo sway-sway lang na siya. But they will post pictures coming from other countries na there are really a lot of devastation. May mga buildings na nagkalarumpag and there were a lot of deaths. And they will post that this is currently in Iloilo. So somebody will believe that, right? Because it really happened. Yes, there was an earthquake, but the picture included was not during the certain time. So it's out of the context. So out of context siya. So delikado gid ina ang mga information ang false content. So another one is fabricated content. This fabricated content naman niya is 100% make-believe. So wala sang tuod. The caption, the pictures, and everything are really not true. So these are really made up to make sure that we really have to destroy somebody or destroy a certain organization. And it's really authentic and appealing. Ang delikado pag subong because of the onset of AI, there are other manipulated or fabricated content like, the what call this ano gayud na siya, deep fake, di ba? Videos as if making somebody talk the words, the exact phrases without them talking that in real life. So ang picture ginapahambal siya using a certain software. So this is fabricated content. We should really be vigilant. We should really be critical in trying to find if the content is true, somewhat true or not. Another one is misleading content. Misleading content, this one reinforces a key message. So the misleading content somewhat has this tendency to present information from the sources that has been pieced together. So ini sila ya gin grupo-grupo nga information. Example, you know that, di ba? Iloilo has been tagged before as a shabolized city in the Philippines. So the misleading content now gin pang tipon ang tanan ni evidences or pictures or videos showing of the buy-bust operation in the city. And then they will say, oh, silang tawabala, Iloilo is really the most shabolized city in the Philippines. So this is a misleading content. So it really reinforces a key message. And this one is to really destroy an image of a person, an organization, or a certain group. So many of us share false information by mistake. So it's not, intentional. In fact, less than 10% lang gidya ang nag-create sa disinformation and intentionally wanted to create the disinformation pollution. So it's a really small number of population. I do hope none of us will be included on this 10%. Now, how do we make sure that we are not contributing to this disinformation pollution online? We should know our biases. So amo na siya dapat. Because if we know our bias, we are aware that the 7 types of disinformation are really true and I should not be, included among those who are sharing this disinformation. So bias is something that we do or we listen or we lean or we believe towards. Sometimes bias were created in us or innate in us because of the previous experiences. May it be cultural, religious, or some other, experiences that had influenced the way we see things outside of our own personality. So everyone has their own biases and it's okay. So we are all entitled to our own opinions. We are all entitled to our own biases. Even, professionals have their own biases. But the biases can be good or bad, diba? Good siya because it results to good things, because it can help us to decide matter, diba? Bad because it also results to bad things. So for example, we are biased of being healthy. So vegetable lang akong kanon because I wanted to be healthy. So I'm biased nga tanan yung mga junk foods or unhealthy foods, right? But it will be bad if I would see overweight people, masili ko nga, kay dalok-dalok na siya sa chichirya. Diba? So bias na siya. I don't know the underlying medical conditions, okay, that made him or her overweight or made him obese. It has nothing to do with the food intake. So, diba? So may bias na ko na. So that is something that we should be watchful for. So how does our own biases affect the way we consume information online? It helps us to rapidly evaluate the amount of information. So shortcut na siya. Pagkita mo sa information about for example, this certain group of Filipino people, masali ka nga, amugin man na sila, mga radical gid man na sila, di ba? Because you already have a bias on your mind na ini sila nga mga tao are, are inflicting insurgency, inflicting chaos in our society. So what is confirmation bias? We should be watchful that we are interpreting or we are seeking confirmation and support and validation from other people of what what our beliefs, what our existing beliefs are all about. Kumbaga, we tend to go with people, with groups, with somewhat the same biases. So kanami kung magsili ka nga, ay puro kami amo ni nga color, puro kami diri mga amo ni siya, amo ni amon ginabilive. It's good because you have all the same, wavelength. Kumbaga, palariho ang inyong ginabilive, palariho ang inyong information na gusto mabalay. However, when you become judgmental and you spread this information for a certain group because of your bias and may shortcut ka and you're not reading information or valuable information about them, this affects your tendency to know a lot of information. So here are some of our biases. It could be religion, ethnicity, culture, gender, right? Political parties, and of course, some other countries. So hindi kita mag-visit sa among country kay medyo magamuna sila dito. So without, looking at the facts and figures. Okay? So why do we need to be aware of our biases? Because sometimes we judge things unfairly because of our bias. And we interact and we treat information online because of our biases. And it leads us, diba, not to learn anymore. So may bias ka na daan. So you don't want to learn, you don't want to investigate, or you don't want to know more about this information. So how can I be aware of my biases? First, you have to acknowledge that you have a bias. You try to challenge your assumption. So you try to look for information that will really support if this is true or not. My bias is really true or not. And you try to reflect on your own decision. And of course, you should ask, is it really part of my core values and beliefs? Diba? So now let's go on to our last session. So how to be Digitalino? Knowing the sources of information, knowing how to differentiate or distinguish misinformation and disinformation, and knowing how your biases will affect your decision making, we have to equip you how to become a Digitalino citizen. So how does it mean to be a responsible digital citizen? This embodies a Filipino who is a digital literate, diba? Intelligent, digitally intelligent Filipino. You have to be critical thinker. You have to use technology for good. You have to stand up for what is right. And of course, you have to make sure that you are safeguarding yourself and your family members towards what has been, spread ng mga information online. How can we fact check information online? So first, you have to know if the whole post is thoroughly connected to what the headline is all about. And you have to check the website, diba? You know that, .com, .gov, .ph. So these will speak the reputation of that certain website. And you have to make sure that the information is coming from a respectable source or media. And of course, Google had given us this tool, the Google Fact Checker Explorer. So you just have to open this toolbox coming from Google to fact check any information that you wish to check online to know if this is really true or the content is really valuable or really happening in our context or in our society. So do's and don'ts of sharing. So diba, you know that. Don't make social media as your diary. ATM, at the moment, we are at the port of Iloilo going to Bacolod. Wala tao sa balay. Diba? So we love to share that. So sometimes it will really lead towards, unwanted things to happen in our home, in our family. And of course, sometimes we encounter this issue, calling out friends who mistakenly shared information online, false information online. So steps how to call them out, okay, use a supportive and positive tone and use I statements rather than confrontational. So amugi na siya. And of course, there are times when somebody will lash us out, diba, and tell us that they support what this disinformation or misinformation was all about. So these are the example of calling out scenario. So if a friend share a misleading content, what will you say? Okay, so the correct answer is letter A. So diba, I also saw and try to offer a more credible source of information. Another one is this one, inaccurate content. So anong himuon naton, diba? So you privately message, but Yeah, you offer also accurate articles. So this will support them to know which one is correct or the right source of information. Somebody posted a satirical post, satire or parody post. Is what you're going to do. Excuse me. What you're going to do? Comment on the overall post because everybody should find out or should read what is the accurate or what are the accurate contents of that specific post. Okay, so how can you protect yourself online? So always make sure that you will not get scammed in either text or uh, using your messenger or private messenger. So use strong passwords, di ba? Kabalo na kamo sina. Don't click strange links. Update our devices. This is very important. And of course, call certain company or banks if it's really a legitimate offer. So there are types of scams that we know. The romance scams, text scams, di ba? Phishing scam. This one is very important. Phishing scam is something that when you click, they will try to get all your valuable information, be it your bank accounts or maybe even your GCash accounts. So you really have to be vigilant. Lottery scam, wala ka nagpatad pero nagdaog ka, 'di ba? Wala ka nag-apply pero nabaton ka. So these are scams that we should be watchful for. Okay, so how do we protect ourselves from these harassments? You can have these reported to the government agencies, the National Bureau of Investigation, and the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group. So these two groups are the one in charge of protecting us through scams and online harassment. So being a digital well-being citizen really is important for all of us, especially sa inyo nga mga estudyante. So there should be a healthy and balanced relationship between you and technology. So how can we achieve this? Gain more control of your everyday routine, diba? Only identify the number of hours that you wish to interact through your social media accounts. And of course, you have to make sure that you don't, interact with your social media accounts or you browse your social media accounts approaching bedtime to make sure that you are preparing your body to sleep or to rest at night. Okay, so to recap, we discussed about the power of information, the disinformation today, knowing your biases, and how to become a digitalino. So congratulations! It's now time to apply your learnings and continue your digitalino journey. So again, in behalf of our team, thank you very much for this opportunity and thank you very much for allowing us to present about the Digitalino program together with the CN Foundation and the google.org in Central Philippine University. So please, again, scan this QR code to answer our pre-test and to know some of the insights which supposedly should be asked during the presentation. Again, I would like to thank Professor Annalie Hilongos and all other faculty members of the National Service Training Program for second semester 2024-2025 for allowing us to conduct this important activity. So may these have, significantly added or enhanced the critical analysis or critical literacy of our students here in the university and become part of our movement, the Digitalino movement. So with that, madamo gid nga salamat, maraming salamat everyone, and may God bless us all.